Ba-dum, ba-da-da-ba-bum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-ba-da, ba-da-da-dum, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-ba. As I'm doing this voiceover, this reminds me to say better. Anyway, let's get started. You can use either fresh or frozen blueberries for this. I chose frozen just because it kind of changes the cell structure a little bit, makes it easier to break down. Put everything in a sauce pot. Your lemon needs to be zested, and then half of it juiced. This is just a basic pie crust. It's a hand pie or a toaster pastry, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to put everything except the ice water into a bowl. Then put some plastic wrap over it and into the freezer. Alright, so this has been simmering for about 10 minutes. Now it's time to go to medium low. Out of the freezer. Add the entire contents of that bowl to a food processor. Oh, hey, Charlie. And start to pulse. Charlie forgot something. You should have coarse crumbs that look about like that. We're going to give it, there's a couple of pieces of whole butter in there. Alright, let's pulse them 3 more times. And done. Alright, from here we're going to add 1 tablespoon of ice water. You want to keep this mixture as cold as possible. We're going to mix that up. And then it could take another 1 to 2. It depends on the humidity, the time of year you're doing this, but all of these things are a factor. I used about 1 tablespoon additional and got this to form a pie crust. Alright, from here we're dumping this out on the counter. We're just making sure that we can get everything incorporated, no dry spots, everything's put together. And then, hey, there's Charlie again. And then we're going to put this back into the freezer for just a few minutes. Alright, our filling is unbelievably close to being done. Alright, so what we're looking for, as I stir this, I can scrape my spoon across the bottom of the pan, I see the bottom of the pan, and then that jam falls right back into place. And this is the true test. Alright, so move this out of the pan into a bowl so it can start to cool. And then mash it up with a fork as much as you can. Let's grab that dough out of the freezer. Alright, hit this with a little bit of flour, press down, and then roll it up, roll it up, roll it up. Wrong tongue. You want to keep rolling this out and squaring off your edges as often as possible. This dough's like Play-Doh, so you can kind of work it as needed. You're looking for a 13 by 11 final dimension, and then we're going to cut this down to about a 10 by 12, 12 by 10, whatever. It's the same thing, right? Alright, so from this point we're going into eighths. We're going to cut this in half, and then each quarter into halves for a total of 8 little rectangles. If you need to square off your edges, do so before you put these on this sheet tray. We're going to put these back into the freezer. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I told you, it needed to be cold. It needed to stay cold, right? Alright, so these have been in the freezer for about 5 minutes, hardened up. And we're going to fill these. But first, we're going to pull about 1 tablespoon of that jam and put it in a separate bowl. This is going to be for our icing. Alright, so now to fill, we're going to go with about 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of this jam right in the middle. The only thing is you want to make sure that you're leaving about a 1/2 inch of untouched, unadulterated crust on the edges so we can seal this thing up. From here we're going to take a beaten egg and just brush all those edges so we could put our lids on. So lid them up, you're going to press firmly on all sides. Your top dough should be to the point where you can kind of work it around that filling. And if some leaks out of the edges, that's perfectly acceptable. Look at mine. I mean, look, we can't all be perfect, right? Once your tops are on, you want to press and reshape your edges. You want to kind of keep that filling as close in the middle as possible just to keep your leakage to a minimum. And at this point, if you have any holes from where you've stretched and pressed and pulled, you can always take some scrap dough and push that over the top of those holes just to make sure that not too much of this filling leaks out. From here, we're going to take just the floured back of the fork and press all the way around to double seal this and give it that standard toaster pastry look. From here, we're going back onto the sheet tray, and then we're going to take a fork and we're going to poke a couple of holes, probably about 3 to 4 sets into the top of each of these just to let any steam out when we bake them. And then from here, they're going back into the freezer. All right, if you've never worked with lavender before, a little goes a long with like 9, 10, 11, 12 O's, like a long way, right? I ground this using a mortar and pestle. We're going to add this to the jam, and then we're going to add a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, and then milk, about 1 tablespoon. And then we're going to mix this up really well. All right, at this point, we're going to strain this. We're going to try to press everything out as much as possible just to maximize our volume. Once there, we're going to add another 1/4 cup of powdered sugar and mix until smooth. Alright, now after their hour in the freezer, we're going to brush each of these with a little bit of beaten egg. This is going to give them a nice little shine on top. And then these will go into a 350-degree oven for about 20 to 22 minutes. This is what we look like. These look good. We need to allow these to cool for about 8 to 10 minutes and then spread it on. If you get this movie reference, we can be friends. If you don't get this movie reference and you like and subscribe to this video, we can still be friends. Does that work? That's a fair trade, I think. From here, what I did was I garnished with just a few of the little dried lavender flowers that I had. Again, a little goes a long way. You don't want to go too far. That's super damn fine. Top shot.
You're certainly not finding blueberry, lemon, lavender Pop-Tarts in your grocer's aisle, but these are very good. With this, the fruit, you can use strawberry. You know, if you're doing brown sugar cinnamon, brown sugar, a little bit of butter, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of cornstarch flour, whatever. All of these are good options for this filling, but this is more the concept, the idea of doing your own Pop-Tarts at home.